Okay, so think about those places, the really legendary ones, the kind that just instantly grab you, maybe give you a little shiver.
Uh-huh.
For me, the Bermuda Triangle is like right at the top of that list.
Oh, absolutely. It's got that instant recognition factor, doesn't it?
Totally. We're talking about that patch of the Atlantic, right?
Mm-hmm.
Roughly Miami, Bermuda, Puerto Rico, a place that's just been steeped in mystery for decades.
It really has. And, that reputation, it comes from somewhere. Our sources talk about, over 50 disappearances, ships, planes.
50, yeah, that's a significant number.
It is, and that volume of incidents, it's naturally fueled a lot of speculation, kept the whole legend alive.
Exactly, and that's what we want to get into today on the Deep Dive. We've pulled together some really interesting stuff to, navigate these stories.
Try and sort the fact from the, maybe, more fanciful stuff.
Precisely. See if we can separate the documented events from the pure fiction. The idea is to give you a solid grasp of this whole enigma without getting totally swamped by all the theories.
Sounds good. Where should we start? Maybe one of the big ones.
Yeah, let's do that. How about the USS Cyclops back in 1918? That feels like a foundational case.
It really is. The Cyclops vanishing, that's a cornerstone of the whole Bermuda Triangle story.
Right.
And this wasn't just any ship. It was a huge U.S. Navy cargo vessel, massive for its time.
How many people on board?
Over 300, 306, I think the records say, sailing from Barbados up to Baltimore.
Wow.
And the timing, 1918, radio communication wasn't exactly reliable or widespread then.
Good point.
So the fact that there wasn't even a faint distress call, that left this huge vacuum, really, that speculation just rushed into.
And that's the crux of it, isn't it? As our sources really hammer home, it just completely vanished.
Utterly.
No SOS, no wreckage found, no lifeboats, no survivors, nothing. Despite, huge searches.
Extensive searches, yeah, and finding absolutely zero trace. That's what makes it so haunting and memorable.
It really is. That sheer scale, a massive Navy ship, and the total lack of any evidence. It definitely pushes you towards thinking something unusual happened.
It does, yeah. That complete absence, it naturally raises questions, Questions that maybe go beyond the usual explanations.
Okay, so fast forward a bit then. There's another huge incident that really cemented the Triangle's reputation, right? Flight 19.
Ah, yes, Flight 19, 1945. This one's maybe even more famous in some ways.
A whole squadron. 5 Navy bombers.
That's right, 5 Avenger torpedo bombers.
Right.
And it was supposed to be just a routine training flight out of Florida.
Should have been straightforward. But
well, that's where it gets strange. Our sources detail these pretty confusing radio transmissions coming back.
the pilot sounded lost, disoriented.
Exactly. Reports of compasses malfunctioning, not knowing which way was west, just increasing confusion, and then nothing. Silence.
And again, no survivors ever found.
Never. But what makes Flight 19 even more chilling, perhaps, is what happened next.
Like the search plane.
Yeah. They sent out a Martin Mariner flying boat, a search and rescue plane, to look for Flight 19.
Yeah.
It also vanished. Completely. Without a trace.
Okay, wow. So you lose the initial 5 planes and the plane sent to find them.
Exactly. That really doubled down on the sense of mystery. It fueled all sorts of theories about some, powerful unseen force operating in that area.
You could see why. And it wasn't just these huge military losses, was it? Our sources mention other things, maybe smaller scale, but still weirdly unexplained, like the Witchcraft.
Yes, the Witchcraft cabin cruiser in 1967. That's another one often cited.
What happened there? Just gone.
Pretty much. Reportedly sent a radio call saying they'd hit something, needed a tow, gave their position just a mile from shore. But when the Coast Guard arrived minutes later, nothing. Vanished.
A mile from shore. In calm conditions.
That's the story. Adds to that ongoing narrative, doesn't it?
It does. And there was something about lighthouse keepers, too.
The great Isaac lighthouse keepers. Yeah, that's another spooky anecdote often linked to the area, though the details can be a bit murky. Their disappearance remains, unexplained.
So maybe not as famous as the Cyclops or Flight 19, but these other incidents, they all kind of feed into this overall picture, right? This perception of a place where strange things happen.
They absolutely contribute, and with all these stories swirling around, you can easily see how the whole legend just exploded in popular culture.
Yeah, that's when you start hearing the really out there theories, paranormal stuff, UFOs, Atlantis.
Right, the more sensational explanations. And look, they make for compelling stories.
Definitely entertaining.
Right.
But okay, our sources also push for a bit of skepticism here, don't they?
They do, and it's important to consider the power of sensationalism itself.
How so?
Well, the Bermuda Triangle became a hot topic. Books, documentaries, and sometimes, the stories got amplified. Maybe the facts weren't always rigorously checked as they were retold and embellished over time.
Right. The story takes on a life of its own.
Exactly, and there's this very human tendency, isn't there? When faced with something we can't easily explain, we often gravitate towards the extraordinary, the mysterious. The triangle was kind of the perfect canvas for that.
That makes sense. And our sources point out that often maybe we overlook the more, boring explanations.
The rational ones, yeah. Things like sudden, violent storms that can whip up out of nowhere in that region.
Okay.
Or navigational errors, especially back in the day, before GPS and modern tech.
Yeah.
Human error is always a factor.
True.
And just the sheer scale and power of the ocean itself. It's a vast, deep, unpredictable place. Things can get lost out there without needing, aliens or sea monsters.
So if we try and tie this together, what about the actual, danger level, statistically speaking?
Now that's where it gets really interesting. One of the key things highlighted in our sources is that when you look at the data, the actual statistics, the Bermuda Triangle doesn't even rank in the top 10 most dangerous bodies of water in the world.
Seriously?
Bruh.
Not even top 10?
Nope. Despite its incredibly fearsome reputation.
Wow. Okay, that's quite a disconnect, isn't it, between the legend and the numbers?
It really is. And it strongly suggests that its reputation might be significantly inflated compared to the actual measurable risk.
So that underscores the need for skepticism. Like you said, we hear these really wild tales. Do the sources explain why the stats are lower? How do they measure danger?
That's a really good question. Generally, those analyses look at the number of incidents, wrecks, disappearances relative to the sheer volume of traffic passing through an area.
Okay, so it's busy.
Extremely busy. Lots of ships, lots of planes. So while unfortunate incidents do happen, when you calculate the rate incidents per 1,000 ships or flights or whatever, it's apparently not statistically higher than other very busy sea lanes around the world.
Okay, that puts it in perspective.
It does. And it raises a really interesting point for you listening right now. How do we balance that natural human fascination with mystery, with the unexplained, against the need for evidence and critical thinking? The Bermuda Triangle is almost a perfect case study for that tension, isn't it?
Absolutely. It's like you can appreciate the mystery, the stories are undeniably cool, but you also have to look at the data, the plausible, maybe more mundane explanations that our sources offer.
Finding that balance.
Yeah. So wrapping things up a bit, the Bermuda Triangle's fame, its notoriety, is definitely real, built on these documented disappearances, especially the big ones like Cyclops and Flight 19.
No denying those events happened and are perplexing. But, as we've seen, the sources strongly suggest the level of danger is probably, significantly overstated.
Yeah, likely blown out of proportion by sensationalism, by great storytelling, and maybe just our human desire for a good mystery.
Precisely. The legend took hold.
Okay, so that brings us to a final thought for you to chew on. Given how powerful storytelling is and how much we humans seem drawn to the unexplained, how much does the legend itself, the very idea of the Bermuda Triangle, actually color how we see the place?
Yeah.
Maybe shaping our perception of its reality almost more than the actual facts or data do.
That's a fascinating question. How much does the story become the reality in our minds? Definitely something to think about.